I am Hamid Bays. We're going to start halfway down, a little over halfway. Rabba Amar, it's the first word on the line. Now, okay, thank Hashem that we're able to learn every day. Listen, we're learning. My father. Okay. You ready? We had a Mishnah. Mishnah said, we're talking about a man that is betrothed to a woman, but he finds that there's something wrong with her after the betrothal. And now he's claiming that he wants to get his money back. He wants a refund. And she's claiming that if you want to break this arrangement, then you're going to have to give me a ksuba or something. Well, where did they find these blemishes? Not where on the body, but in what situation was she in when she found it? Was she still living in her father's house? Or had she already moved into the husband? So that makes a big difference in the Mishnah. We said that if she's still in the father's house, then the onus of proving when these blemishes came is on the father. So, which would be like this. The father needs to prove that the blemishes came after the betrothal, and then he tells to the husband that, look, what I sold you was perfect. And there's a damage on it. That came from when after you bought it. Yeah, we're talking about marriage. That's the idea. After you married, let's say the husband cannot bring that proof. Let's say the father cannot bring that proof that it was no blemish beforehand. So then the husband's belief that the blemish came later. So in the father's house, the claim of the husband is believed, right? Okay, now let's go to the other case. She already moved into the husband's house. The husband says that 1 second, look, now you have blemishes. So it must have been there beforehand. The father says no. So if the husband can prove, I guess he has to get witnesses that have seen those blemishes before while she was still, before she was betrothed. So then good, then the husband is believed, he has proof. But if he can't bring that proof, so then the father's believed. And the father says that it came later. So in the husband's house, the default status in the husband's house is that the blemishes came later. And the default status in the father's house is that the blemishes were there before. Depends when he's making the claim. Okay. Now, the Gemara before had a question on this. He said, 1 second, do we believe the father in the default state without any proof this way or that way? Or do we believe the husband? So we said, according to Rabbi Lazar came in and he says Tavra, that we have to separate the Mishnah into two halves. The first half of the Mishnah that says that we believe the husband, that's the opinion of Rabbi Shua. The second half of the Mishnah says we believe the father is the opinion of Rabbi Gamliel, which we had a machlokes before about Rabbi Shua and Rabbi Gamliel regarding if a woman claims that she was raped after the betrothal. The husband claims that she was raped before the betrothal, so there was a machlokes Rabbi Shua and Rabbi Gamliel. Rabbi Shua says that we believe the husband, and Rabbi Gamliel says we believe her. So here, when we talk about believing the husband or believing the father, it's basically believing the husband or believing her, and that's the machlokes. Where in the first case, we believe the husband, right, when she's still in the father's house. Second case, we believe. Okay. Now the Gemara says. Rabba Amar, Rabba says, so we're holding, Ayin Hey, Reisha kan nimtzu kan hayu, Seifa kan nimtzu kan hayu. Rabba wants to say that the whole Mishnah is really Ram Gamliel, that we believe, naturally we believe the husband, that it happened there earlier. In the case of the rape, the husband's claiming that it happened earlier. In the case of the mum, he's claiming that it happened earlier. The mum happened earlier. However, over here you have to look at it like this: when you find it in the husband's house, so we say, here's where it happened. When you find it in the father's house, we say, here's where it happened. Which means basically that if the mum is found in the father's house, then it's presumed to have been there before as well. When it's found in the husband's house, it's presumed to have been in the husband's house only. Yeah, what type of mum, I'm not sure. Give me something. Oh. We'll see. Thanks for Abaya. Abaya has a question. Yeah. Right. That would have to be. It have to be that it's immediate. Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Which is weird because we think it's the other way. When he takes possession, why does the father's claim get stronger? Right. Esvei Abaya. Abaya has a question on this. Nithnasal is just a Baal. About Sarklaviraya, Shrachli Tasara Sayba Mumanelo, by Yemekli Mekachtois. Okay. We quote the second case of the Mishnah. Once the woman is in the husband's domain, okay, the husband's house. So then, who has to bring the proof? The husband. The default is that the father's belief. Once she's in the husband's house, the onus is on the husband to bring the proof that it was there before his house. Okay. What does he have to bring? He has to bring proof, not just that the mum was on her before she moved into his house, but she has to bring the proof that the mum was. He has to bring the proof that the mum was there before the betrothal. This becomes problematic. We're looking at a dateline here, all right? Looking at right. Here's where we're holding right now. We're holding right here. He finds the mum right here. This is in the father's house. Okay. This is in the husband. We're in the husband's house. He finds the mum now. Well, he has to prove. If he would have found the mum when it's in the father's house back here, then we would say that the obligation is on the father to prove that the mum came now and not before the betrothal. Okay, but now that we find the mum in the husband's house, the husband has to prove that the mum, talking about he married a woman that has a blemish, and he wants to say that the blemish was there before. So not that the mum was there when she was in the father's house, but the mum was there before the betrothal. What happens if he can only prove it that the mum was there after the betrothal, but in the father's house? Now, if she would be in the father's house and he found the mum there, then the onus would be on the father to prove it. And he just proved that it's in the father's house. But the only thing on this timeline, he's not holding now that it's in the father's timeline, he's holding that it's in his house. And he only proved it back that it's in the father's house, but after the betrothal. Now, if wherever it's found, that's where the onus of the to bring the proof that it was there earlier or later. So it was found out now. It was found in the father's house. That should be enough. So in other words, being found in the father's house, there should be no difference between. You shouldn't have to prove that it was there before the betrothal. The onus should just switch over to the father now. Yeah, it's very interesting over here that we're ignoring the money part for most of this discussion. We're discussing mainly the chazak. Wait 1 second. Wait 1 second. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of factors here that are being ignored.
This is a big deal. I think it's learned from here.
Probably.
Yeah. What we call it as the risk of loss. when there's a transaction that isn't consummated immediately. You buy something, but you don't take delivery. And that's still out the water. And then there's a buyer that's gone. Whose problem is it?
Right.
That's called the wisdom loss issue. It's learned in the law.
So the Gemara says, Misha Tisaris, actually Tisaris, if the husband can bring the proof that it was there before the betrothal, then good. Then of course he's right. He brought the proof that it was there before the betrothal, and then the transaction is over, right? Because it's void. But Misha Tisaris, it's going to get worse. Misha Tisaris light, but after the betrothal, then we say that proof doesn't help. Because it needs to be all the way back to before the betrothal. Why doesn't it help? According to Rava, that he said that wherever the mum is found, in whichever domain the mum is found, either in the father's or the husband's, that's where the onus of the responsibility is going to be on. So he just proved that it was in the father's domain. I know it was after the betrothal, but that should be enough. Let the proofs, the onus of the proof switch over to the father. Amalei. So we start to discuss the Chazaka. Mishnah Sarsa, once she's betrothed, there's a one other factor that plays in. And it's bias. See, there's one other factor besides the factor of when the mum appeared. The other factor is, did the husband possibly accept the mum? In other words, it could be that he saw it and he knew about it and he accepted it, and then now he's coming back and claiming that he doesn't want it. It's just an excuse of some sort, but he already had accepted that. So that factor plays in after the betrothal. Yeah. Now the Gemara says, 1 second. Yihachi, actually Tisaris Nami. So why, when he proves that it was there before the betrothal, is that acceptable? Maybe he accepted it. And so what's the whole proof doing? All of this work was to get, if that factor plays in, that maybe he accepted it, then all of this proof is for naught. Well, Ella Amrinan Chazaka ain't the Matthias b'mumin. But we have an opposite Chazaka. We assume that people do not really overlook blemish. It says if that's the case, that people don't overlook the blemish, then Hachanami Chazaka ain't the Matthias b'mumin. Then they don't accept the blemish over here as well. Then after the betrothal, why are you saying he accepted it?
The only blemish
Only blemish people accept this. Right. Oh. Accept. Accept is to be makabel, right? As opposed to accept Ella. If it was a visible blemish. Right, that was the discussion before. Here we're saying that it was somehow she was able to cover it up during the betrothal, and then afterwards it got with makeup. Ella Mishnah Sarsa, look at this. What's going on over here is after the betrothal. Mishum di ikatarti. There's two things going on. First of all, there's chazaka hemed aguf al chazkasei. We're assuming that she did not have a mum when she was born. The mum appeared later. Now, if she didn't have the mum when she was born, that means we have a presumed status that she didn't have a mum when she was 1 day old. So she didn't have it when she was 2. Let's presume that everything continued in its status quo until we know otherwise. So we hamed a guf al chaskasei. We put her on the status of the body, which means that it came later. came later. How much later? So that's until we find out. And when did we find out? After the betrothal in the father's house. But okay, next. The chazaka in Adam Shaisa b'Kaisalam came Baitkai, V'hai Rav and Atvayasu. Now this is sort of like Imtim Tzalema. Even if you say that the mum came beforehand, prior to when we actually know it when it came, but there's a possibility that he knew about it and accepted it. There's another chazaka here, that a person would never get into a situation without checking out what he's doing. The expression over here, the person will not drink from a cup unless he looked at it first. So here it means he said wouldn't marry a woman unless he examined her. So obviously he examined her and he accepted whatever it was.
But he has
What happened is,
a limited.
that's right. That's right. But we're assuming that somehow he was able to figure it out. Right. Right. Okay. My Amrit. So what can you tell me? What claim can you have? The only thing you could tell me is chazak ein adam mefayis b'mumin, that a person doesn't get appeased. The word mefayis, it's like the English word appease. Doesn't get appeased with if there was a blemish there. Havi chada b'makam tarti. So that would be one against two in assumptions. There's two assumptions that say that it came that the husband loses out. When the husband loses out means that the marriage is already final. Why? Because we say that we put her on her status quo, and since she was born without the mom, she didn't get it till we find out that she actually did get it. That's one presumed one chazaka. And we have another chazaka that he probably knew about it and accepted it because he would never get into a situation without checking it out. Okay, so that means it's all his fault, not his fault, but the marriage is a done deal. You only have one chazaka. He looked at the cup. The other chazaka is that he never would have accepted a blemish. So that's just one against two. That's what we're going to say if we found this after the betrothal. We were on iron book now. Actually, Tesaris, but if he's able to prove that the mum came there before the betrothal, then we can't say that there's a status quo from beforehand that it came later, because we have witnesses that tell us that it was there before. So there goes that status quo. What else is there to say? We only have one thing in his strength. No, we have one thing in the father's strength that says you obviously knew what you were getting into, because no one would ever drink from a cup without looking at it. You must have checked it out and you accepted it. Now you're changing your mind. But if that's the case, then adarabah, chazaka ein adam mefayis b'mumin. But we have a chazaka that a person does not accept the blemish. It's hard to overlook. And the hamid mammon al chaskasai, and you put the money on its chazaka. Now where's the money here? Where's the money? He gave her money already. So the father has 100 dinar. What does that mean? For the Kedushin, the father married off the daughter. Oh, that's what it means. Because the father marries the daughter, he gets the Kedushin money. But no, that's the next thing. That's the next thing. No. That's the next thing. That's the next Gemara. But yeah, the husband doesn't have any money after the betrothal. The woman has the money after the betrothal. He gave her money for the betrothal. Dowry didn't come in. Just 1 second. What happens when he proves that the mum was there from beforehand? So if he's able to prove that the mum was there from before, then he does not need to give her a ksuba. That's what it means. The money stays by him, and she can't claim, no, this was a real marriage, I deserve a ksuba. It was a mekach. That's what we're saying. Okay. It annuls the marriage. Yeah. It doesn't annul the marriage. He proved that was there before, and the marriage gets annulled. Yeah. Ravashi has another tenet. Remember, we had a contradiction here. If she's in the father's house, then the husband is believed. If the father can't prove it, then it was there. It came later. If it's in the husband's house, then the father's believed, or she's believed, to say that it came later, unless we can prove that it was there before. So that seems to be a contradiction. Rashi says what's really going on over here is that, yes, I know that she has a presumed status on her body, that everything came later because she was really perfect when she started, when she was born. And then it came later. So there is a status quo that chazaka of the guf that should continue. But that's only when she's the one that's making the claim, or when he's making a claim from her. What's
that mean?
Yeah, but where's the money over here? She's claiming from him. That's the thing. She's claiming from him. That's what's going on. She's claiming from him the ksuba. So when she's claiming the ksuba, then we use her chazaka. She's the one with the claim. She has a chazaka that's backing her, that she didn't have a mum until later. So when she's in the husband's house, she's making the claim. But when she's still in the father's house, it's not her that's making the claim. It's the father that's making the claim, and the father's trying to use her chazaka in his claim. So her chazaka in his claim doesn't really help. That's what we're saying. It's only when she's the one with the claim she can say, and look at my chazaka that I don't have the mum. I guess when it's not her making the claim, then there's other chazakas that play in, and it's just the father's claim. There's also the husband's money, and there's other things that play in. But when she's making the claim, she can use her chazaka alone.
If the marriage is annulled,
There's no two. I think it's the cheskas, I think it was chazaka. I think the ksuba goes down. I forget what's the beginning of the Masechta that we said. Yeah. Yeah. I don't remember. I think there was a riot. Okay. Okay. Go ahead. But then we're gonna see some. We're gonna see in a moment about that. That's coming up. Esvei Ravacha Braid the Ravavila Ravashi. Moide Rav Meir b'mumen aruyim lavim beisavia shalavia lavi raya. Okay. Let's say there's a mum that probably came from earlier, probably came from the father's house. So Rav Meir that says that it's the husband's obligation to bring the proof once it's in his house, right? Once it's in his house, the husband needs to bring the proof that it was there earlier. However, Rav Meir would agree that if it's the type of mum that would have been there from before, then it's not the husband's proof, the husband's obligation, it's the father's obligation. The only problem is, if your whole issue over here is, did she leave the father's house? Then she can use her status. So she's left the father's house. Her status was that the mum wasn't there originally. So why is it now the father's obligation? She has her status to help her chazaka, to help her. My answer is, my skin would be a seris. Talking about an extra finger, an extra toe. So that already, she doesn't have a status that Those things are things that the person is born with and grow later. You said it's my raya mysi. What has a problem now? If that's what we're dealing with, then why did you say that she has to bring a proof that it wasn't there? It's impossible to bring a proof that it wasn't there because an extra finger or toe, sixth finger or toe is always going to be there. It wasn't even like an option. So Gemara says, Raya, the Rav, and the Fayasu. To bring a proof that he saw it and he accepted it. That's the proof, not that it wasn't there. The proof that the husband accepted it, knew about it. Yeah, but I think the way we discussed it over here was that there was a type of moment that maybe she could have covered with at home kerchief or something. Right. And it sometimes gets exposed, sometimes doesn't. We were discussing that somehow. So we do mittens instead of fingers. She was supposed to tell her. Tell her. Okay. Danielle, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, my question is, how do you prove that a mum wasn't there in general, like a regular mum? That seems like a hard thing to prove that it came later.
Yeah. So for the husband, that would be difficult. To prove that the mum was there earlier is easy. You find an old picture. To prove that it wasn't there, you'd have to find an old picture that it wasn't there. Right? Yeah. So you find someone that said, I saw her and it wasn't there. Witness. Okay. It gets ready. This is not the following Gemara is not politically correct comparison, but it's the Gemara, so let's take it. Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel. Rav Yehuda says the name of Shmuel. Hamachlef para b'chamar. If someone exchanges a cow for a donkey, two animals. He says, I have a cow and you have a donkey. I want a donkey and you want a cow. Let's switch. Well, mashach para chamar es para. The owner of the donkey takes the cow and he pulls it. It means for his part, the exchange was done. However, the donkey was back at home. So the donkey was never really acquired yet by the owner of the para, the prior owner of the para. But that doesn't matter because the exchange already takes place. Once one of them pulls it, the other one automatically transfers. Mashach Petura, he pulls the out. Could be. Okay. By the time he comes to pull the donkey or to get it, it's already dead. Well, of course, this is going to be a conflict. What's the conflict going to be? When did it die? The new owner of the donkey says that it was dead before you even pulled my cow, and therefore there was no transaction here. And the new owner of the cow said, I can't believe it. Right after I pulled the cow, your donkey died. Poor thing, bad luck on you. Well, look at this. The owner of the donkey has to bring a proof that the old owner of the donkey has to bring a proof that his donkey was alive while he was pulling the cow. Right. The Tanatuna, and the Tana supports this. And what's the support? Kala, a story with the bride. Now we had two stories with the bride. As I said, this comparison is not politically correct. What were the stories with? Well, it depends in whose location the mum was found. Here we're saying the death of the chamar, we're comparing to the discovery of the mum in the kala. Now, who has to bring the proof? Who has to bring the proof? Well, if the discovery of the mum was in the father's house, then the husband has to bring the proof that it was earlier. If the discovery of the mum was in the husband's house, then the father has to bring the proof that it came.
What's in here?
No, if it's in the father's house, then the father has to bring a proof that it came later, right? If it's in the husband's house, then the husband has to bring a proof that it was there before the betrothal. So now, it's a little bit vague over here. Whose house is the chamar in? Because here there's a doubt because he pulled it already. Yeah, it's in a way it's the same thing. There's a doubt when the mum appeared. Here we have a doubt when the donkey died. So, hi Kala, which Kala are we talking about? Well, Kala b'beis aviyah. Must be talking about the Kala that's still in the father's house. Who had to bring the proof that it came not earlier in the father's house before the betrothal, but that it came after the betrothal? That was the father. Very good. So here too, the donkey died. Who has to prove that a donkey died later? The owner of the donkey. Matches up. Mar says, me dummy. How can you compare these two cases? Hasa maisi avraya umape. Over there, by the kala, the father brings a proof that it came later, and then if they get divorced, he gets the ksuba. So he's extracting money with his proof. Hacha maisi balachamarayo mukin. Over here, the donkey, the owner of the donkey, which is now the new owner of the cow, he doesn't extract any money. He just keeps the cow that he already had acquired. He pulled the cow, remember? He pulled the cow. He's just keeping it. So there's a huge difference between these two cases. Why don't we say it's a couple payment? No, it's not a couple payment. Because in order for the father to be able to extract money from the new husband, he's going to need to bring proof. But that should not be that. But let's say he can't bring the proof, then he can't extract the money. Good. By us, by the cow, not now by us as by the cow and the donkey. Let's say the owner of the donkey cannot bring proof that it was alive when he pulled the cow. Why should he lose the cow? He already pulled it, right? In other words, what's the end result is the opposite. So over there, he was trying to, the father was trying to extract money from the husband. And if he can't bring the proof, he can't extract it. But over here, the balachamar is if he can't bring the proof, but he already pulled the cow, it should be his. Amar Rababa kala beis chamah. No. Rababa says it's the opposite. We're talking about that the woman is already in the husband's house. Chamah means her father-in-law's house, but it means the husband's house. And over here, who has to bring the proof? It's the husband that needs to bring the proof. So we're saying, comparison back to us with the donkey, we're saying who has to bring the proof? The guy that owns the cow has to bring, which over here is the chassan needs to bring the proof. He already acquired her and needs to bring the proof that the mum was there beforehand. So now we're looking at chassan bringing proof is comparable to the owner of the donkey. He already acquired her and he has to bring the proof that it was before. He already acquired the cow. He has to bring a proof that it was alive while he was acquiring. Bakati Leidami says he still can't compare. Awesome Baal Maisirayo Marle Chazaka Da'ab. What does the father do when he brings the proof? What does the chassan do? The husband do when he brings the proof that the blemish was there earlier? He's ruining her status. She had a status that she didn't have a mum because she was born without it. Now we're going back and saying that no, actually the mum came earlier. If he can do that, then good. Otherwise, the chazaka continues that she didn't have a mum. Hacha balachamar maisiraya. Over here, when the owner of the donkey needs to bring a proof that it was still alive, umukim chazaka biyadeh. A chazaka that it was alive, a chazaka was that it was alive should continue. He is bringing a proof that to a chazaka. Let's say he can't bring the proof. Well, the chazaka that was alive was anyways there. It's the opposite. Over here, he has a chazaka that supports him. So if he can't bring the proof, it shouldn't be that he loses out. He has a chazaka that it was alive. Look, if you use a called chazaka de mi'ikara, what was going on before him? If you put these two, here's the girl. She didn't have a mum before him. Here's the donkey. The donkey was alive before him. Now, as he traveled through time, the husband's trying to say that no, the mum was there before, and he's pushing back on this chazaka. And if he can't get that proof that it was there beforehand, then we say, okay, so the original chazaka is in place, and it's his mom. But by the donkey, we have a chazaka that it was alive. And what does the owner of the donkey have to do to prove that it was alive? So if he can't prove that it was alive, what are we left with? That it was alive. So why this is not a good comparison? The Gemara says, we're talking about taking the money back, the Kedushin money back. We thought the whole time we're talking about getting the Kesuba money back. Turns out that we're talking about he's claiming the Kedushin money back. He gave her money, he wants that back. Now, there's a machlekes if the Kedushin money is lost, the betrothal falls apart. If by Kedushay Taz, if there was a mistake, everyone agrees that he should be able to get the money back. And that's what we're talking about here. So in other words, we're switching this around. And the one that's claiming the money over here is really the husband that's claiming the money back, and the onus is on him to bring the proof. Okay, let's leave this over here.
Thank you. Have a good day. Kol tov.